So, very good afternoon, everybody. I hope that I'm audible and visible to all of you. So, I presume that I was given 2:20 p.m. and now it is about 2:20, 2:29. So, should I presume that I have to finish in 15 minutes? Okay, thank you, Sanjay. And I'm grateful to you for coordinating my talk. We had conversation in your department when I came a couple of years back to deliver my talk there. And thanks to your principal also, I had met last time. And to, of course, Dr. Satish Singh. So here with I begin my talk. Now, first of all, I would like to say that my fellow philosophers yesterday, Professor R.C. Sinha, Professor Rajni Sukla, Professor H.S. Prasad, Professor Ajay, and Professor Sirola, they all presented some philosophical thoughts, and those thoughts basically are very significant from the point of view of philosophy in the current context. I'm going to deliver on this topic, that is Apat Dharma, moral imperative, and COVID-19. I'm going to divide my talk into two broader parts. In part one, I'm going to talk about Dharma and Apat Dharma. And in second part, I'm going to talk about the implications of Apat Dharma in the current philosophical problems. So, in the second part, basically, is much more applied, which going to see as to how we need to change our philosophical problems, take into account the current situation of COVID-19. So, well, the problem of dharma has been a continuous problem, and it is because that the meaning of dharma has been interpreted in many ways. And recently I have reviewed a book on concept of dharma, but about that I'm going to talk about little later. First, if we are going to delineate about the concept of apat dharma, then we have to be clear about the concept of dharma. But the problem is that concept of dharma has been ever-changing concept, and we have many denotations of the term. For example, pratham dharma, sanatan dharma, swadharma, sadharan dharma, and then Aitareya Brahman talks about religious duties. Chandogya Upanishad talks about grihastha dharma, tapas dharma, and brahmacharya dharma. And Taittiriya Upanishad talks about satyam vad dharmam char. Bhagavad Gita talks about varna and ashram dharma. And then in Mahabharata we find ahimsa paramo dharma. And Manu talks about achara paramo dharma. So we can say that the meaning of dharma has been ever changing, or we can say that it has been applied in different contexts. And that is the basic reason that this is also a most misused concept. However, I would like to endorse one denotation of the term given by Ramchandra Dattatreya Ranade in his book, A Constructive Survey of Indian Philosophy, where he is talking that in Rig Veda, the concept of dharma basically is connected with the concept of or theory of karma. So, soul is basically described as on the basis of its karma, whether it could go to heaven or to earth. And this is very significant point because theory of karma and dharma both are related in Indian context. In our form of life, we generally talk about karma and dharma. So that is very significant. However, now let us come to our philosophical schools which talk about concept of dharma. And as we know, Mimamsa Sutra of Jaimini, basically the first two sutras, they are about dharma. The first is, of course, Athato Dharma Jigyasa, and the second is Chodana Lakshano Artho Dharma. That is, dharma is a command or injunction which impels men to action. That is, प्रेरणादायी विधिवाक्य द्वारा जो प्रतिपादित है वह धर्म है. Now, Vaisheshik Sutra of Kadad interestingly also talks about dharma in its first two sutras. The first is Athato Dharma Vyakhyasyaamah, and the second is Yato Abhyuday Ni Shreya Siddhi Sadharma. I would like to say again it, Yato Abhyuday Ni Shreya Siddhi Sadharma. Now, in this context, we find that the concept of dharma is a very much the concept which has been in different contexts in different ways, and that is why I would like to say, taking the term from Wittgenstein, it as a family resemblance concept. So, not going in much into that detail, but I presume that that is clear enough. Now, coming to the second part of the first part of my talk, that is the concept of apadharma. Apadharma basically has to be understood in the context of apada, and apada basically is misfortune or calamity. I would like to take the definition from the Sanskrit English dictionary by Sir Monier Williams, where he says that apadharma can be defined as a practice only allowable in time of distress or misfortune. So, apadharma basically is a dharma which is a dharma of apada, that is misfortune. Now, B.G. Tilak in Gita Rahasya basically endorses the same idea, and he says that some concessions have been made in Shastras to meet calamities like a famine, which are technically known as apadharma, and calamities basically are apatkala. In the case of famine, there is a conflict between religious principles on one hand and hunger, thirst and other bodily needs on the other. And bodily organs drag you in one direction and religious principles in the opposite direction. And in this context, I would like to make the point that there is a difference in the situation of a moral dilemma and a situation of apadharma. So, we need to make this distinction clear in mind, as I'll come to this point a little later. But let us see in Mahabharata what talks about dharma. It's a very famous that Mahabharata talks about that janami dharmam nache me pravitti, janami adharmam nache me nivritti. And this basically Mahabharata text is full of the acts of apadharma. Now, you can debate as to whether a particular derailment of act could be treated as apadharma or not. And that is why in Mahabharata, in many places we find that sukshma gatir hi dharmasya. That is, the true nature of dharma is subtle. For example, how could many Pandavas marry one Draupadi? And how could Bhishma and Drona and Kripacharya, they all sided with the Dushta Duryodhana, though they were great persons. So these things are basically mysterious. In Mahabharata, how could we treat them as adharma or apadharma? But then, they were the persons who were very much knowing the the precept, and the precept is in Indian culture, arthasya purusho dasa, dasa tu artho na kaschid. That is, man is the servant of wealth, wealth is servant of nobody. And if this is correct, then it is mysterious why these great people, that is Bhishma, Drona, and Kripacharya, sided with Duryodhana. Now, in this context, we can remember the Mahabharata precept, Mahajano in Gata Sapantha, in the time of problem as to where to go. Now, this also is a very much problematic, and we have basically delineated on this point. Now, this Mahajano in Gata Sampanta basically has been very much discussed in many journals. I basically would not like to go in much detail in that due to lack of time, but I would like to come to the second part of my presentation, and that is how to apply the concept of apadharma in the current situation, basically in the context of the topic of the seminar, and that is whether apadharma a moral imperative or not. And there was a debate yesterday also. I'm not going into much debate about the problem as to what is that, but I would like to say that no such problem arises in the context of dharma. In context of dharma, we say that dharma is a moral imperative, and it is basically a categorical imperative in the sense that it is universally valid, and it has been rightly pointed out by Professor Sinha that dharma is universal principle. But the question arises, what about apadharma? Whether which seems to be a break from dharma. Now, this thing we have to see as to how we can make the distinction between apadharma and adharma. So apadharma and adharma both are different things. Adharma, we know as to what is adharma, that which is not dharma is adharma. And in this context, we find that what is apadharma? Apadharma, basically, there is a context in Chandogya Upanishad, chapter 1, section 10, where Usasti Chakrana Rishi gets food from the elephant man in order to survive and in order to not die. But he didn't drink the water because he could survive without water at that time. So his apadharma was to eat this food and not drink water. But then, if we have to make the distinction between apadharma and dharma, then we have to provide apadharma the status of moral imperative. Because unless and until we have given the apadharma the status of moral imperative, we cannot decide as to what is the criteria on the basis of which we can make the distinction between a right apadharma and wrong apadharma. And if one says that it is the context which decides actually what is apadharma of a particular context and apadharma not of the context, then we have to see as to what is the criteria on the basis of which we can say that apadharma of a person in a particular situation depends on certain factors. For example, whether that factor is natural or non-natural, whether it is the life-death question or not life-death question, whether happening is giving artha and kama or dharma and moksha. And if we come out of these things, then the problem is that this is a very much context dependent. Now, if this is a context dependent, then again question arises as to why we should and how we should judge a particular concept. As to what is the criteria of judging a particular context, one can say that the concept judging criteria is inner-wise, but the inner-wise concept is too much misused. Then we can say that we can take recourse to our granthas For example, Dharma Shastras, Smritis, Puranas, and others. Uh, and in that case, we find that finally uh, we realize that no philosophical problem arises in a vacuum. And if we understand that philosophical problems do not arise in vacuum, then definitely we can appreciate that in the current situation, all the branches of philosophy need to be restructured, redefined, and our approach has to be changed. And this has to be done in the context of philosophy of language, ethics, epistemology, metaphysics, applied philosophy, etc. There's not much time to go into detail, but I'll give you a minute about how we can move forward. First of all, in philosophy of language, the branch of philosophy deals with the what is meaning. Actually, we need to decide as to what is the meaning of a particular sentence in the situation in which we are living. Uh, the traditional philosophy of language theories, whether it is picture theory of Wittgenstein or other theories of philosophy like Buttigieg's theory of sport weather, question is it applicable now? Now we can see that there are sentences in current context where older theories are not applicable because the meaning of a particular corona context is different than the meaning of a ordinary sentence. Now, the nature of ordinary sentence in non-corona situation is different from the nature of the ordinary sentence of a corona situation. So, taking into account, we need to say that the logical positivist criticism of metaphysics, basically metaphysical statements like I know not what, cogito, Dacian, doesn't apply these in these contexts. And this elimination of metaphysics and verification theory of meaning has to be re-understood in fresh context. And in ethics, whether we are dealing with teleological ethics or deontological ethics or descriptivism or prescriptivism or emotivism, we will have to create a new criteria to judge new situations. For example, take one situation when two families are moving on foot from Delhi to Lucknow, where two kids of two different families are basically getting fainted due to lack of water. Now, one family has little water in the bottle. Now, the mother basically has a problem as to whether she should give water to the child, which is basically severely hit and getting about to die, or it should keep that water for her own kid, which might die because lack of water after a couple of minutes. So this situation basically has to be understood in a particular context, and we have to redefine as to what is what. And then in the context of epistemology also, the criteria of knowledge, that is truth certainty and right to certainty, along with the Gettius problem and Ayer's solution, that is, instead of saying that there is a bunch of grapes on my table, we should say that it seems that there is a bunch of grapes. So it seems the ... This proposition basically has to be understood in a different condition. It has different context in corona days as compared to the previous days. And likewise, I'll take 1 minute only, and that is in case of metaphysics. The traditional metaphysics and descriptive metaphysics and the concept of person of Strawson, that is M predicate and P predicate, has to be redefined in different contexts of person in these days. Likewise, in applied philosophy, when we are dealing with so many concepts like rape, euthanasia, abortion, suicide, we have to add now COVID-19 situation as well. In philosophy of mind, basically, we have to see as to peculiar fear of COVID-19 has to be re-understood. Likewise, in philosophy of education, it's a big way, we have to be go online. Likewise, in many cases, we have to understand that the apadharma is very much moral imperative in the present context, and we have to codify it, provide it proper context. Thank you for inviting me for the talk.